The gym smelled like sweat, rubber mats, and old metal. The honest smell of men who trained hard and broke themselves daily to be rebuilt stronger. Afternoon light leaked through the high windows of Camp Pendleton's combat training facility, painting long golden stripes across the floor. Laughter echoed near the heavy bags, deep and careless, the sound of men who believed the room belonged to them. She didn't look like she belonged there. She was wiping down a rack of training knives, moving slowly, deliberately, like someone who had all the time in the world. Her posture was relaxed, shoulders loose, movements economical. No wasted motion. No ruse. She wore a plain gray training shirt, sleeves rolled just enough to reveal forearms marked with faint scars, the kind you didn't get from accidents in rank patches. No name tag, just another support detail. That's what they thought. Staff Sergeant Mason Cruz noticed her first. He was a black belt in Marine Corps martial arts program, a man who had earned every ounce of his reputation. Thick arms, cropped hair, the confident swagger of someone who had never been the weakest person in any room. He paused mid-conversation, watching her from across the mats. "Who's that?" he asked, and a couple of Marines followed his gaze. She was quiet, too quiet. She didn't glance at them, didn't flinch when a heavy bag slammed nearby, didn't react when someone dropped a barbell with a crash point. One of the younger Marines snorted. "New logistics girl, I think. Been around all week. Never talks. Cruces Mirquez. In our gym." That smirk spread. A challenge unspoken, but immediately understood. Marines trained hard, but they also tested boundaries. It was part of the culture, respect earned through action. And sometimes, entertainment came from pushing the quiet ones. Cruz walked over, boots heavy against the mats. His presence alone usually made people straighten up. She didn't doubt he stopped a few feet away. "Hey." She kept cleaning. "Hey," he said again, louder. Finally, she looked up. Her eyes were calm. Not submissive, not defensive, just assessing, like she was measuring distance, weight, balance. "Yes," she said. Her voice was steady. Neutral. No fear. Cruz tilted his head. "You train?" She blinked once. "Sometimes." That got a laugh from the nearby Marines. "Sometimes," Cruz repeated, amused. "This is a combat gym, not a janitor closet." She set the knife down carefully. "I know where I am." Something about the way she said it, not sharp, not arrogant, made Cruz's smile thin slightly. "You ever spar?" he asked. "Sometimes," she repeated. Laughter again. Louder this time, Cruz crossed his arms. "We're running hand-to-hand drills. You're welcome to watch." Or, his grin widened, "You can step on the mat." One of the Marines called out, "Careful, Staff Sergeant. She might clean the floor with you." More laughter. She studied Cruz for a moment. Not his face, his stance, his shoulders, his breathing. "Rules?" she asked. The room quieted a little. Cruz raised an eyebrow. "Rules?" She nodded. "Protective gear? Strikes allowed? Submissions?" That did it. The laughter stopped completely. Cruz chuckled, shaking his head. "All right. Light spar. No strikes to the throat or spine. Tap out if you need." She nodded once. "Fair." Someone tossed her a mouthguard. She caught it without looking. Cruz stepped onto the mat, bouncing lightly, confident. He had trained against bigger men, faster men. He had never once been worried about a quiet woman in a plain shirt. "Ready?" he asked. She bowed. A Marine bow. A martial artist bow. Cruz barely noticed that he lunged. The first second erased every assumption he had. She didn't retreat. She pivoted a fraction of an inch, and his grip met empty air. Her foot swept low, precise, catching his ankle at an angle that destroyed balance without force. Cruz hit the mat hard. The room exploded with noise. Before he could roll, she was on him, knee hovering inches above his ribs, her weight perfectly distributed, her hand resting lightly at his throat. Not pressing, just there. "Tap," she said calmly. Cruz stared up at her, breath knocked out of him, mind racing faster than his lungs. She wasn't strong. She was exact. He tapped. Silence swallowed. "The gym." She stood, stepped back, and bowed again. "Thank you," she said. Cruz sat up slowly, face burning. He laughed, but it wasn't mocking now. It was stunned. "Again," he said. She nodded, Again, he attacked harder. Again, he lost. Faster this time, a shoulder lock. A sweep. A choke applied so smoothly, he barely felt pressure before instinct screamed danger PWY the third round. No one was laughing WY the fifth. People were recording on their phones WY the seventh. Cruz was breathing hard, sweat pouring, staring at her like he was seeing something impossible. "What's your name?" he asked finally. She hesitated. "Rin," she said. "That all?" "That's enough." A senior Marine stepped forward. "You some kind of civilian contractor?" She met his eyes. "No, then who are you?" She glanced around the gym, at the watching Marines, at Cruz, at the doors. Then she reached in her pocket and pulled out a small, worn ID, Navy seal. Active. The room went dead silent. Cruz's mouth fell open. "You're a SEAL?" She slid the ID back. Was hoping to finish inventory before anyone noticed. A Marine whispered, "No way." Another said, "She moved like..." Cruz shook his head slowly. "Karate." She allowed the smallest smile. "Since I was 6. Someone finally laughed. Not mockery, not disbelief. Awe. Cruz stood and extended his hand. She took it. "Why didn't you say anything?" he asked. She shrugged. "You didn't ask." The doors opened then, and everything changed, because the man who walked in wasn't there to train, he was there to retrieve her, and whatever she'd been hiding was about to surface. The man who stepped through the gym doors didn't need to announce himself. The room felt him before anyone consciously noticed, a shift in air, a tightening of posture. He wore a simple navy uniform, unremarkable at first glance, but his eyes scanned the space like a radar sweep. Calm, sharp, unforgiving. Rin saw him instantly. Her shoulders stiffened for the first time that day. "Lieutenant Commander Hale," she said quietly. The Marines looked between them, confusion rippling through the room. "At ease," Hale said, raising a hand, though no one had saluted yet. His gaze locked on Rin. "You weren't supposed to be noticed." She exhaled. "I was almost done." Hale glanced at Cruz, then at the phone still raised in a few hands. "Seems that ship sailed." Cruz Gualov. "Sir, what's going on?" Hale didn't answer immediately. He walked closer to Rin, lowering his voice. "You couldn't let it go, could you?" "They challenged me," she replied evenly. "I accepted." Hale shook his head with a faint, resigned smile. "Karate master instincts don't switch off, do they?" That single phrase landed heavier than any strike. "Karate master?" someone muttered. Hale turned to face the room fully now. Petty Officer Rin Nakamura is not logistics. She's not support. She's not here by accident. She's one of the most lethal close-quarters operators the Navy has ever produced. Silence. She's also been embedded here under strict orders to remain invisible. Cruz felt heat crawl up his neck. "Sir, with respect, why?" Hale's expression hardened. "Because someone is hunting her." Every Marine in the gym straightened. Rin's jaw tightened. "You weren't supposed to say that." "They already know," Hale replied quietly. What happened overseas didn't stay buried. The gym suddenly felt smaller. "Heavier point," one Marine spoke up carefully. "What happened overseas, sir?" Hale hesitated, then nodded once. 6 months ago, a joint task force was ambushed outside Fallujah. Enemy fighters trained in advanced hand-to-hand combat. Not militias, specialists. Rin's eyes dropped to the mat. Our teams were outnumbered. Weapons jammed. Close quarters. In that chaos, Petty Officer Nakamura engaged 12 enemy combatants. 12. Cruceco dale nadif. Unarmed. The room held its breath. She neutralized all 12 in under 4 minutes. No fatalities on our side. Someone whispered, "Jesus." But the enemy recorded it. Hale continued. Fragments leaked. Grainy footage of her movement. Her style. Experts recognized it. Rin closed her eyes briefly. "They know she's real now," Hale said. "And they want her." Cruz stepped closer. "So you hid her here?" "Temporarily," Hale said. "Until we move." Rin looked up. "Move where?" Hale met her gaze. "Back into the field." The word hung between them. Rin's fingers curled slowly. "I was done." "I know," Hale said quietly. "But they've killed 2 informants already. They're closing in." Cruz glanced at the Marines around him, men who had trained for war their entire lives, and realized something unsettling. None of them moved like she did. None of them had that stillness. If they come here, Cruz said slowly, they'll be making a mistake. Rin looked at him. This isn't your fight. Cruz maildgrimli. You stepped on our mat. That makes it our fight. Hale studied him, then nodded. We could use Marines like you. The next 48 hours passed in a blur. The gym became a war room. Phones were confiscated. Security doubled. Rin trained. Not because she needed to, but because movement was how she thought. Cruz watched her closely now. She didn't show off. She didn't dominate. She taught. Angles. Timing. Breath control. The difference between strength and structure. Marines who had broken men in combat found themselves humbled by how easily she dismantled bad habits they didn't even know they had. You don't fight force with force, she told them. You fight intent. At night, when the base quieted, Cruz found her alone in the gym, practicing kata in near darkness. Every movement flowed like water, sharp then soft, violent then still. You ever miss it? He asked one night. She didn't stop moving. Miss what? Being invisible. She paused. Every day, the attack came at dawn, and alarms. No explosions, just shadows moving where shadows shouldn't. The first guard went down silently. The second never felt the hand at his throat. Inside the gym, Rin froze mid-step. They're here, she said. Cruz reached for his weapon. Hale's voice crackled over the radio. Multiple intruders. Highly trained. This is not a drill. Rin's face hardened into something ancient. She removed her shoes. Cruz noticed. Why balance, she said. And respect. The first intruder came through the side entrance fast and low that he never reached the threshold. Rin moved to Cruz. It looked impossible, like frames missing from reality. One moment she stood still. The next, the intruder was airborne, crashing into the wall, unconscious before he hit the ground. Another came from behind. She pivoted, elbow snapping into a nerve cluster, hand slicing across the throat with surgical restraint. The man collapsed, gasping, alive but finished. Cruz fired twice, covering her flank. They moved together now, not planned, instinctive. More intruders poured in, disciplined, coordinated, dangerous, and Rin dismantled them. Not brutally, efficiently. Every strike had purpose. Every movement ended the fight. Cruz had trained his whole life, but watching her was like witnessing a different language of violence. She didn't hesitate. She didn't waste effort. She ended threats. When it was over, 7 men lay unconscious or restrained on the mats where Marines had laughed days before. Sirens wailed outside. Hale entered, weapon raised, then lowered it slowly. Clear, Cruz said. Hale looked at Rin. You okay? She nodded, breathing steady. They weren't as good as the last group. That chilled everyone more than the fight itself. Later, as military police secured the area, Hale approached her quietly. It's time, he said. She looked around the gym one last time. At the Marines. At Cruz. You changed the way we train, Cruz said. You know that, right? She smiled faintly. Good. He extended his hand again. She took it. Stay alive, he said. She bowed, deeply this time, to all of them. Then she followed Hale out, disappearing into the morning light. The gym felt emptier after she left, but something remained. Respect, silence, and the understanding that sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one no one notices.